everybody. Welcome to Monday Night Therapy. Minnie is joining me tonight because I am still trying to get my voice back, and I hurt all over, and I don't have a guest. And there you go. I have a guest. It's Minnie.
You have a
And
guest.
there was a lot going on in Lincoln, Nebraska this weekend. It was, it was probably one of the funnest weekends I've had in a long time.
Oh my gosh. I think it was the best weekend of my life.
Of your
We beat
life.
Colorado.
We
Yeah,
did beat
we,
Colorado.
we beat Colorado. Yes.
Didn't you expect us to beat Colorado?
Absolutely. But it just felt so good. Like it was the biggest triumph because of those guys that actually came back that could have gone to the NFL, and they were jumping around, just making plays left and right. I was so happy for them. It made it all worthwhile.
So was the game the funnest part of the weekend?
I mean, yeah, it was, but no, meeting you in person was, and
Okay.
then after that was the game.
Okay.
Ma-
What a good response. Okay. For everybody that I guess that what impressed me is, my God, people were everywhere. Friday night, a bunch of CornNation people got together in Kincaider's. I met you and Connor in the hotel room. That kind of sounds kinky, but there were a lot of people there. The first thing Connor said to me was, "You're a lot taller in person than I thought you would be." And I took it to mean that he meant I thought I would be like a decrepit, bent over old man. But I ran into other younger people. I was shocked by the number of younger people that stopped me and
Mhm.
wanted pictures taken with me and talked to me. And a couple of them said, "You're a lot taller in person than we thought you'd be." And I thought, what the hell? What is that about? Maybe I need
Well,
to.
you are tall.
Am I? I'm not that tall. I'm like 6 foot. That's kind of regular, isn't it?
No, that's
Isn't it?
very tall. No,
Okay.
I think that's not even average. I think average is like 5'9".
Oh, well, then
Yeah,
I'm tall. Yeah.
you're
I think
tall.
the other thing that I mean, there were so many people around Friday night, and then Saturday there was tailgates everywhere, and the Lincoln crowd was a buzz all day, and then you got to the stadium, and holy cow,
Mm.
I kept trying to remember the last time I actually was at Memorial Stadium, and uh, sat actually in the seats for a game. I've been to spring games where I sat in
Oh,
the seats,
because
but I think it literally was the Northwestern game where we threw the Hail Mary was the last time I was actually in the seats, because I was usually on the field, and you know they put on a show. I mean,
oh,
that whole thing from beginning to end. I'm not talking about just football. The whole thing was an amazing production to me. I mean, with the '94 national team and national championship team, and they had the volleyball team. They had the bit with Frank Solich and Tom Osborne, which was really nice. They had the drones. From where I was sitting, I couldn't see the drones very well, but yeah, it was
it was
just beautiful.
amazing.
Everything was well done. It
It
was
was so
incredibly
well done.
loud.
They had thought
And
everything out. I mean, everything, every little thing. I was there we were there from like 10 o'clock in the morning on, and we got to see the recruits coming in and out. We got to see the players walk the unity walk. It was so amazing. And then, yeah, the 94, Tom Osborne walking out with Frank Solich to lead the players. I mean, I get goosebumps just thinking about it right now. That was
it was
so great.
it was.
Mm.
What was next on the list? It was
Well,
loud. It was
oh,
loud. I wore earplugs, and I took them out for like 30 seconds to 45 seconds because I wear them because of the brain injury. It can be overwhelming. In about 45 seconds, I was ready to collapse, and I put them back in and went, "Oh, thank God." But the people, everybody yelled and stood the entire game, and that was a lot of effort. And even I thought, like, even the second half. I mean, let's face it. The first half was a good football half to watch, and then the second half
mhm.
just turned into a shit show. It really did. Nebraska got so conservative. I know that I yelled at you guys in the bar after that, didn't I yelled at everybody.
I
Uh,
can't believe you had a voice left after the game. That was you after the game.
it was. It was. When I get like I want to get something out of me, it just comes out. Uh, but it really turned into, Nebraska got so conservative. I think the Colorado's defense is probably a little bit better than it. I don't think that is so terrible, the defense. I think that,
Mhm.
they shut down North Dakota State in the second half last week too, or the week before this, and their game
Yeah.
won. Otherwise, North Dakota State would have easily won that game. Uh, but then there was the refs, and man, we're gonna go into hold. We're gonna go into
We're gonna go into that.
yeah. We're gonna go
For
into.
sure.
We're gonna take a deep dive into officiating. Well, not a horribly deep dive, just deep enough to get like the poop up to our knees, and then
Right.
wade around in it and try to sort some stuff out. Mostly because I saw so many comments by people on social media that were confused about how targeting works. And then the whole holding thing. I have never heard a crowd chant holding, 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 holding. And the reason why, yeah, I'll show you the reason why. Okay. How do I do
Okay.
this? Who's in
But
charge? What
John,
am I doing?
before you do that, can you take a
Okay.
couple comments? Because I already have 16 highlighted
Oh,
for you to
oh my
take.
God. You do.
Yeah.
Okay. Highlander, we should do that. Highlander Gun says this what must be what it feels like to be a Colorado fan. Fourth. I like that. Aaron Keene says, RIP James Earl Jones, great actress or great actor
Actor.
and an incredible voice.
Oh, so good.
James Boardman says Huskers win, Squawk Eyes loss. It was a good weekend. We were in the stadium and they showed the last play.
Mhm.
They showed the play. I think it was live, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
And I was
So they showed on the big board the live play
yeah.
of Iowa State kicking the field goal. When they made it, the whole crowd went insane. That was kind of beautiful. That was a really good setup for the rest of the night.
Well,
Buster Chuck.
I was walking into the stadium at that time, and I thought, "Oh, no, what did I miss?" And I'm talking to everyone, "What happened? Please tell me I didn't miss the Will Compton hype," or I thought it was something major because you could hear all the screaming outside of the stadium, and it was because Iowa lost. Classic. Love
James
it.
Williams says, "Hey friends, I had so much fun on the episode with John. I decided to come back for more." Well, hello, James, and welcome. We're gonna, I was thinking about you. I was thinking about I should go down for the UCLA game and meet you. So I'm glad to see you. Fred Sacco, it was a good weekend for sure, and it was nice meeting you all and making
Oh,
John
so
feel
nice meeting.
uncomfortable. You know, I met Fred Sacco and I kind of looked at him and I thought,
That's
I
awesome.
made him take his ID out and show
Oh my
me and
gosh.
prove that he was Fred Sacco, because the Fred Sacco I had in my head didn't look anything like the Fred Sacco in life. The Fred Sacco I had in my head looked like, somebody's dad or
I d
somebody's grandfather, the kindest person. The person I met in public looked more like a serial killer. And what I
Oh my
did, I
gosh,
didn't
John.
tell you this, Fred, but what I did was I took my wallet out of my back pocket and I stuck it in my front pocket when you weren't looking. So
Fred, that is so not true, and by the way, your girlfriend is the most delightful person, Marie. Oh, and normal, John, not a serial
what?
killer.
Well, maybe there could be two. Maybe they
No,
work in tandem.
I think so.
Okay, Linda Wilkins says, John, you should wear your hair in a ponytail with a ball cap more often. Makes you look younger.
Yeah, you look kinda
Okay.
cute, like a little teenager, but with white hair and a white beard.
Okay. I told one of the bouncers I was 30 and I dyed my hair gray. Charles Hullett says kegs and eggs in football. Do you know what that quote is?
It's from Rule. Today used it. He said, "That's what I like on, an early Saturday morning, kegs, eggs, and football."
He would rather play his games early. Aaron Keene says 5'9" is the average height in the U.S. The conservative
Okay.
Cusker says hi, Minnie and John.
Hello.
Wrinkly Beef. I don't want to know any more about that name. Howdy, John and Minnie. Charles Hullett says, sorry, I missed you, John. I was in St. Louis watching Jeff Lynn do his ELO thing on Friday night. That's interesting. You know, I don't think that much about ELO. And they probably should because they were a huge band in the late 70s,
Yeah.
early 80s, you know? Mr. Blue Sky, you please tell us
Um,
why you had
well,
to go
not
away a long
everyone
time,
knows
long
not
time.
not everyone knows what ELO stands for.
Electric Light Orchestra.
Best band ever.
Vince Watson says the average height of an American man is 5'9", which is slightly taller than the global average of 5'7.5". Wow.
Look at how
Wait,
educated
I
our
got
audience is here. It's kind of crazy.
what Jason Reeves says, well, the Dutch are mutants. What did that have to do with?
Because they apparently bring down the average.
Oh. Mar Nav says John is many a guest or a new addition. Welcome either way. You know what?
Thank
I
you.
didn't. I wanted to. Here's
I'm
what I wanted
always
to do. I
there.
wanted to have Beth on for half of the show to talk about volleyball,
Okay.
and she is busy tonight. So I think
Well,
my
you
part
just
on
have to
Monday
put up
night,
with me.
what I'm going to try to do on Monday night is have guests and talk to other opponents that we're playing, and then also get some volleyball coverage in. And you know, if we're doing other things, if other things are happening, if other topics that come up that are germane to what's going on to college football, then we'll discuss those too. John Dre says, John, yelling, it's what I do. It is what I do. Paul Dalen, nice to see you, Paul. Colorado has see, it's already going. Colorado has the
Uh-oh.
best three players we will see until Ohio State University. That's probably true. I probably more. They do have some good
Possibly.
players.
Mhm.
Nord Charles Hullett says Notre Dame lost two. That was shocking. Northern Illinois
That
and
was.
Bowling Green took Penn State. Uh, you know, that was a lot closer game than I thought it would be. And then, you know, the guy that I work with, he's the Penn State guy. Every week
Yeah,
he's like, "Well, we might lose. We might lose." I'm like, "It's Bowling Green," and then they almost lost. And I'm like,
they
What the
did.
hell happened to you guys?" And he goes, "Well, Bowling Green's really good." And I'm like, "Whatever, you pansy puss boy wiener." Anyway, Fred Sacco says ELO probably doesn't think about John either, but they should. Thank you, Fred. Okay.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Adam Hurley says Colorado lost a game against Stanford last year after being up 29-0 at halftime. They weren't being conservative. I was talking about Nebraska's offense being very conservative. They were really conservative in the second half. I mean, we didn't. What did we have? I was going to look this up and then I didn't. We didn't.
At halftime, it
No.
was
I
like
mean, if you
28
think
to
about
0.
like if you think about
20 to 0.
explosive plays,
Oh,
I did my short
well,
game preview, and here's what I said. Nebraska wins this game if we don't turn the ball over and we limit explosive plays. Well, we didn't turn the ball over. That's one. And then we limited
thank God.
explosive plays. And I
Yes, we
forgot to
did.
look up how many explosive plays Colorado had, but they didn't have any
They
touchdowns
didn't
for
have.
really explosive
No,
plays. So,
no, they didn't. So does that count?
well,
I
explosive
mean,
plays are typically plays over 20 yards. That's kind of the
yeah, I think they
definition.
had 1 or 2 then, if I'm not
They did.
mistaken.
But,
Yeah,
we limited them. They've had a lot.
we definitely
They
did.
had a lot
Mhm.
against North Dakota State, and we limited them. I mentioned in the post game thing, but I think one of the biggest keys to this game was, all week we heard about Travis Hunter and Jimmy Horn. Our defensive backs were terrible, and they weren't going to be able to cover them, and that blah, 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 and that didn't happen at all. Our defensive backs pretty
No.
much, covered him.
You
So
the thing that surprised me was Travis Hunter on defense. I
yeah,
thought there was a couple of times where he really got in there, and just because we're just pushing so hard, Ramir Johnson twice bobbled the ball, like, and caught it with one hand after Travis Hunter had, touched it. So I thought that was really interesting. It's interesting the mindset that happens whenever you have that positive momentum. I think that that
Yes.
enables your team to make those really amazing plays that they wouldn't normally have made. I mean, it's just like happenstance. Catches with one hand, I loved it.
That is true. I think you do tend to make your own luck, and I mean the Ramir Johnson touchdown was an example of that, where he bobbled the ball, or the other guy was going to intercept the ball and then
Yes.
tipped it
Mhm.
up, and then Ramir was
He
athletic
turned
enough to
around. Yeah.
score, and yeah. But we had a photographer at the game, and he got a really beautiful picture of him, doing that thing where he stretched out the ball like, "Yeah, I'm scoring, you sons of
Yes.
bitches." It was beautiful. He got some
Mhm.
other pictures too. Can I show them?
Please. That's
Okay.
awesome.
I'm going to show you guys some pictures as soon as I remember how to do this. Uh, okay. There was one thing, particularly in the second half, that why it became a shit show. And I've seen so many people upset about this. Take a look at this. Is this holding? Do you guys think this is holding? Make your comments. Is that holding? Because I'll show you that photo,
So,
and then I'm going to go down here. In around 2000, when was the articles from? 2010 that I
uh,
wrote. Remember, I
yes,
had
it
you.
was
Yeah.
2010. 2010.
Okay, so
Mhm.
2010. That I've been doing this a long time. In 2010, I did a series of articles with a friend of mine that was a Division I official, and we talked about officiating and what they look for. And it was a series on how they have to go through a years of being officials before they get to college. It went through the different officials, watch different things on the field, and then one of the things I made an entire article about was holding,
Yes, you
because
did.
holding has pissed people off for a long time. And I've seen a lot of comments about holding. And so here's a piece from the article.
Mhm.
And notice he says this. Uh, I want you to pay attention to one of the pieces at the top. I wanted you to pay attention to his thing where he says, if you take into the account the point of attack and the concepts of advantages and disadvantages, it's easier to understand. One other important item on holding: officials realize that offensive linemen hold defenders, but it's the
Mhm.
defender's responsibility to show the hold. In other words,
Mhm.
it's not enough for the defender to stand there being held. The defender must make an attempt to move away from his blocker, to go after the ball, fight off the block, and demonstrating that the offensive player is getting an advantage. Now, that was from that article that I wrote 2010. Okay.
Right.
So this is why when you watch a football play and there's a guy, first of all, let's talk about this. I'm an old guy. I played football like this, you know, the chicken wing stuff. We couldn't put our hands out. This was what you had to block like this all the time. And it was really, nowadays they can come out. What they do is they come out, and
Yes.
what they attempt to do is they attempt to grab a guy on the
Mhm.
inside here. And that's one of the reasons why you see so many defensive linemen and other players wear their jerseys so incredibly tight that offensive linemen can't grab them. If they grab them inside here, that is legal. That is not holding. They can grab them now. They don't have to do this chicken wing crap we had to do years ago, which, I'd love to be able on a
Well,
thought offensive lineman be able to grab a guy like that. Yeah.
um, our if you were watching some of the spring, practices, Donovan Raiola actually got after the guys for going like this, blocking like this. It's knuckles up, because you don't want your hands on them because that gets lazy and then you can get called for holding.
Is that what it was? You're paying way more attention to this than I thought you. My God, you're becoming a force of nature about this football thing.
Thank you.
Okay. I went over here. Here's the other thing I wrote in the article. These are different types of offensive holdings: tackling a player, self-explanatory; takedown, the pullover, the hook and restrict, the grab and restrict, and the jerk and restrict. So
And notice that those have and, so they can't just be just a hook. You have to show that it's a hook and restrict.
So let's go back. Let's go. Oh my God, are you watching the comments? Because I'm not at
Yes,
all.
I am.
Okay,
Well,
good
Greg's
job.
also in here. Greg's in
Is
here
he?
too. Yeah.
Okay, there's another one that looks. The thing about this is he's grabbing the guy. Looks like he almost has a face mask there. Then there's this one. I don't think this is holding at all. He does have his hands out on the outside, but it's probably away from the play. So just because again, a offensive lineman is grabbing somebody and pulling on them is not necessarily holding. And I think that's why the second half turned into such a horrible thing to watch, is because they did start calling everything on every play. This is probably the most egregious picture that I can think of. And this is obvious.
It's
And
obvious.
okay, and the problem with it is, the problem that I saw during the second half was they were calling Nebraska for holding all over the place, and it was phantom holds. And you just were like, okay, we watched Ty Robinson. Listen, last week I said Ty Robinson and Nash, the nut masher, should just stand their ground and occupy blockers. What a stupid comment by me. Ty Robinson just rushed up the field and destroyed everything in his path. I mean, you literally could have, if the defensive coach or the offensive coaches could have, put a car in his way, he would have just blown it out of the way. A rhinoceros, no problem. Water buffalo, screw that too. On his way to the quarterback. I don't understand why the guy isn't getting more national press. Probably because he plays for Nebraska, and they're not going to get us any notice until we just start kicking the shit out of people. But I talked so hard I ran out of air. But he was unbelievable in that game, and they kept holding him there. I didn't get any pictures from Steve of him running by and having his jersey pulled from the back, but those pictures are out there. And those were pretty common. Those weren't like it happened one or two plays in the first half or the second half. That was happening all the time, and they did not call them a single time for that. And then they start calling us for holding all over the place.
It's true. Well, John, that picture that you just showed was definitely a hook and restrict.
Yeah, that's pretty. I mean, look at that. Then you got, this is pretty obvious. And then here's one that's not obvious, but look to the left, and it's like they're having a dance move over there. The player's got his arm around, what is it, number 8? And he's literally like, they're doing some kind of wedding dance step thing, right over in here. Of course, I'm moving my mouse. You can't see that. That's pretty dumb. And then again, we have this photo, which is kind of hooky. But again, it depends on which play, the way the play is going. But you saw this kind of stuff from their offensive line throughout the entire game with no calls. And it just really, I don't know.
Do you think that they were making so many calls to try to get the game under control? I mean, perhaps it was Nebraska versus Colorado, but there was a third opponent in the game, and maybe it was the refs. And they wanted to play.
I think everybody remembers. Well, if you're a certain age, I think everybody remembers the Texas A&M game in 2011, 2012. Where we went to Texas A&M and they called like 15 penalties on Nebraska, one on Texas A&M. That was the one I think where Ben Cotton got his gonads grabbed and he kicked the guy. Was it Ben Cotton? And he kicked the guy, and we got a personal foul for kicking. Well, he was being grabbed in a pile. I felt like that's what was going on, because I remember maybe it was Yoshi One of the players that played in that, I'm pretty sure it was Yoshi Jamarcus Hardrick when I interviewed him years ago. He said basically they knew that they were not going to be allowed to get out of Texas A&M with a win because that's what the Big 12 was going to do to them in our last year of them. You know, they wouldn't have done that to Texas, the sons of bitches, but they would have done it to us. So I kept thinking, is that what's happening here? We're going to play Big 12 schools? Because we've made it known that we would like to play like Kansas State and some of our old opponents. Well, if we're going to play them and this is how we're going to get treated by Big 12 officials, what's the fucking point of playing them? I'm getting cranky.
We still beat the pants off of them.
We did.
Like you said, at no point was there ever any concern of us losing the game.
That is true. But if you're going to go forward and let's say you're ranked 5th, you go to Kansas State and they call you for 18 penalties. Well, you can't get out of there alive. That's serious stuff. If you would, that's not screwing around. I realize that's kind of conspiracy theory type stuff, but is it? Because everybody saw what was happening on the field. They sure as fuck weren't calling Colorado for anything. They're calling the hell out of us for phantom shit.
It's
in our own stadium. Let's go find some people. Right.
Okay, so
pitchforks and torches.
John, I looked it up when I knew this is what we were going to be talking about. The average football game has 6 to 6.5 penalties called.
Okay.
Guess how many penalties Nebraska had called on them?
83.
Seemed like it. 12.
Okay.
Double that.
Yes.
So you're right to be so offended by that.
You know, I don't ever want to make this stuff about officiating, but you know what? They made it about officiating because I will link the articles that I did in 2010 about officiating. And the last line in the article about holding, the friend of mine that was the official then makes the point that the officials never want to make a stand out during the game. In other words, they want to go as unnoticed as possible. Well, that sure as hell didn't happen in the second half, did it? So, okay.
Well,
all right.
yeah.
Oh, we already did that one.
Okay. But there's several up there that you haven't done.
I know. I'm trying to lower my blood pressure.
Okay, breathe.
Husker Nation 1 says, hot take, we changed the Pledge of Allegiance. Instead of saying One Nation, we say CornNation. I'm for that. By the way, I put up a women's t-shirt design or a women's like t-shirt in the store. The red isn't red. It's like a heather red. We also have stickers now. So if you can you see that?
Oh, we have stickers.
You can have a sticker of copy and stick it. You can stick it.
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna. That's
on the store now. Linda Wilkins says Nebraska volleyball dropped to 5th. They did. That's why I wanted to talk to Beth. You know, everybody seems concerned about. It will take 2 minutes with volleyball. We lost to SMU. They're not ranked. Everybody's freaked out about it, or a lot of people seem like they were freaked out about it. Oh my God. I just say this. We put so much pressure on our volleyball team to be perfect. They did look terrible in that game. You know, SMU was unranked. They looked like they weren't really making a lot of effort. I think John Cook made that comment after that game. But at the same time, it's unbelievable how perfect we expect our volleyball team to be. I mean, they play a long season against a lot of teams, and a lot of those teams are very good. And here's the other kicker to this. They go through a tournament at the end. So I guess I don't ever get real worried about, oh my God, now they're ranked 5th, or oh my God, maybe they lose 3 games and they're ranked 10th. It's all about what happens at the end of the season for a sport in which you play in a tournament. Make sure you get into that tournament. Make sure you have a good season. Maybe you're going to win your conference this year. Nebraska certainly has a shot at that, but losing a game or two shouldn't be reason for anybody to be really, John Cook's a damn good coach. He'll figure it out. We have good
He's
players all
great
over the
coach.
place. I'm sure that they can put their stuff together. Greg says smash the like button. If you're on YouTube, I would appreciate it. What else is going on? Let's keep going. Oh my God, you're starting them faster than I can get you.
I'm trying. This
Here's
is
my
my
voice.
job.
This is my voice. That's where my voice is gone. Michael Jason Hall says, I put Alabama and Oregon on upset alert this week. Alabama's at Wisconsin.
Mhm.
I just get this feeling that Luke Fickell is not a great match for Wisconsin. I don't know why. So
Everyone thinks that I've talked to.
Who is Oregon playing?
They just play like Bison State or something?
Oh, Oregon football. Oh, they played Boise State and they won 37-34. This week they play Oregon State. And that's a big rivalry.
That's right. Yeah, that's going to be a good game.
Gary Pierce says all of our plays were ruled illegal by the game handlers. We did limit their big plays the entire game. We did. Tiger Shark Diver says textbook holding, which a lot of those were. What does this mean? So many flags.
So many flags. Because you wanted to know, does that look like holding?
That's true.
Do any of these look like holding?
Yeah, that was holding. Charles Hullett. Husker Chucks, that was almost assault. My God, it was going on through the entire game. That's what was so. Fred Sacco says, yes, they called 0 on Colorado's offensive line that were blatant. Then when we actually pancake people and they called it holes. Big 12 refs are Diaco Alley disabled. We did pancake it. We did knock down some guys and they called it holding. Like what they like the. Here's my problem. You got to make a choice about these officials in that game. Okay? Make a choice.
Okay, but what difference does it make? Okay, go ahead.
You ready? Because I'm cranky and I want to get it out of me.
Okay.
They were either egregiously the shittiest officials that we might have ever seen in our lives in terms of an entire crew. Because you read that they get graded after games. They have to sit down and they have to go through all this stuff and they get graded and they say, here's what you missed and here's how are you going to grade that piece of shit game? Other than you guys suck, you're terrible. So they were either the worst officiating crew in human history or one of them, or they were purposely making those calls for some unknown reason.
I read that if they make number one, I absolutely agree with you.
That they're worst?
Egregiously the worst. Worst.
I thought you were going to help me with my conspiracy theory.
Okay. Because here's the thing. There's people in the chat saying, what's the deal? Did they just, get paid by Colorado?
Wow.
They, as this is their job. If they are making holding calls specifically, and it's not a holding call, they get their rating marked down, which affects what they get paid.
Like they should have to pay us. That's what I'm thinking. Unless they were doing their overlord's dirty work. Don Dre says, I think the officials were trying to keep the score down to make Colorado look better. See, Don gets it.
Some people might agree with him.
You know what? They're probably trying to keep Nebraska from getting good in the Big Ten because they still resent us all these years later.
Everyone is against Nebraska. We're used to this.
Yeah.
We're just used to this. I mean, why would we expect anything different? And we still handled them.
Tiger Shark Diver says, literally, I read that months ago, Minnie is becoming a Husker encyclopedia. You are. It's a little intimidating.
Well, I hate to bring this up because it's our ex-head coach who said it. But you know what he said, and
What do you say?
it's so true. You cannot control the officiating.
That's
It
true.
is what it is, whether it's good or bad. And you just have to sometimes the calls go our way and sometimes they don't. You just have to live with it and play ball. So
What are you
that's
saying? We
why I'm
should move
just
on. We should move on to something
no,
else.
no, get
This
it
is
out of your system so you
this is
can move on.
okay. Okay. Never mind me says nothing was more satisfying than watching Colorado get dominated. If it wasn't for the petty balls, Nebraska wins 42-3. Yeah, that's probably true. I mean, I think that when you
So
went out
true.
and look at national coverage and you looked across the articles that were written, I think everybody noticed that we beat the holy hell out of them. And the score being only 28-10 didn't make a difference in most people's eyes. Brandon Stiver says, sometimes I wonder just how deep betting scandals run in referee circles. Yeah, there's you go. Some of it is just so blatant you can't think otherwise, like this past game in the second half. Oh my God. Jason Reeves says, did you all rewatch the Shiloh injury? It's clear to see his forearm deflect inside his white long sleeve. Ye gad. You know, on the first Nebraska touchdown, I'm sure everybody has seen this replay. Dante Dowdell comes up and Travis Hunter just doesn't even bother. Do you remember that? Travis
Yeah,
Hunter's in a position to at least make a tackle or at least
it's
hit him. And he's like,
disgusting.
I'm not. No, I looked at that. I saw a lot of people kind of laughing at it. He's not even going to try. And I thought, yeah, if that was me, I wouldn't, I'm not getting in that guy's way at that point. Cause that'd be like trying to deflect a train from the end zone. I mean, all it's going to do, you're going to be in like a bug splattered on Dante Dowdell's windshield. I realize it's your job, but at the same time, sometimes you have to realize, nope, this is a lost cause, and let the guy go, because otherwise, what would happen to Colorado if they had Shiloh Hunter and Travis Hunter, or Shiloh Sanders and
Shiloh
Travis
Hunter.
Hunter? Well, they're all kind of interchangeable. They seem to be in the same family anyway. What if they lost them both to broken arms in that game? I guess then they'd have an excuse
Oh,
for the rest of the season.
that's true. Well, here's the
Fred
thing
Sackos,
that I thought you were talking about when you asked that
yeah,
question. Um, when Travis Hunter sat on the bench by himself without the rest of his team and in the game and was pissed off. To me, that is exactly the opposite of what Nebraska is. It's not a
yes.
one-man team.
Target Shark Diver says those stickers eco-friendly. Yes, as far as I know, they're more eco-friendly than all them balloons we launched in the air. That was pretty cool. I am kind of against that. I don't particularly care for the that tradition, uh, because God calls us to be good stewards of the earth. And go argue with God. It's in the book of Genesis, but it was pretty cool. I mean, the things went up and they just kind of hung in the air, and it was really surreal for quite a while. Okay, let's see. There's the Fred Sacco again. Some of our phantom holds happened even when and after the play was well past them. It was atrocious. That's where, I mean, if the hold gonna be called doesn't affect the outcome of the play, it shouldn't be being called. And I think that was the thing about that.
Mhm.
Fred, my God, Fred Sack always saw the refs in the second half more than we saw Rule, Dion, and Dylan. For fuck's sakes, terrible. That's true.
I
I
agree.
need I need to find some other
Terrible. Terrible.
Joanne Likelater. I hope I got her name. Likelater.
Oh.
Both the Big 12 officials and the network wanted to protect their Colorado investment. Sometimes I wonder if there's some of that goes on. Hey, look at this. Tackle Farms gives us a super chat for $20 and says, love the content. Thanks. Let's keep grinding and fixing things. One of the things about that
Very
second
nice.
half,
Hi.
one of the things about that second half is they certainly will come away with this and say, we do have things we need to fix, because
Oh, for sure.
there were some plays that weren't particularly executed very well, especially in the running game. And again, it was pretty vanilla. They did, a
Wait.
42-3 win probably wouldn't have been as useful as the season goes on as okay, that's kind of a dumb comment. I mean, if they play sloppy, they're not going to get all headstrong, but maybe I think Rule is going to keep them from getting that way anyway.
Oh, for sure. He makes them play. It doesn't matter if we win or well, it does matter if we win or lose, but what's more important is how they play. They look at every little thing that you're talking about, and it will get fixed.
Brandon Stiver says, what do we set to gain to complain about the refs days after a win? Yes, they sucked, but it didn't affect the outcome. We're ranked, we're all riding a high, and we're ready to move forward. Well, Brandon, here's the thing. The editorial calendar at CornNation usually is like we look at the last game until Wednesday, and after Wednesday, we typically look on and we move forward. I'm doing this because I want to complain I didn't have a guest for tonight, and we play Northern Iowa next week, and let's be honest. We're going to beat the shit out of Northern Iowa. It's a body bag game. So they just not really, I know that, oh my God, we might, there might be an hangover. Or there might be stuff like this, but we're going to beat the shit out of Northern Iowa. Heinrich Harburger is going to get into the game in the third quarter.
Oh, really?
Well,
as long as we don't see any more pooch kicks. What the heck was that? That was the only thing in the game that I was like, huh?
Well, they were at a position on the field that, normally if they don't have a returner back there, I don't think they did. And you could do that properly. You can pin them at the 1 yard line with a guy who isn't your regular punter.
Yeah.
So,
well,
you know what it was? It was a chance to do that in a game where it wasn't going to affect the outcome so that you could see how you could work on it in a game where it might affect the outcome.
Okay. I'll go for that.
All right.
Good point, John.
Brian Bauer says Fickle hasn't got the horses on the O-line that used to mark Wisconsin's team. There just doesn't seem to be the same oomph with them. Although, you know what? Go ahead.
Sorry. No, go ahead.
We were at a tailgate for a while where I did watch Texas beat the shit out of Michigan. And I thought Texas would beat Michigan. I didn't think they'd beat the hell out of them. I just two things I was going to look forward to this season, and that was making fun of Colorado losing every week, and then making fun of Michigan because I think they're going to have probably 4 or 5 losses. And watching their fans disappear from Twitter after the entire offseason and saying, oh, we didn't really cheat. Everybody does it. Make every rationalization for what they did in the book. One thing I didn't understand what Michigan was doing is Texas is kicking your ass and you're kicking field goals. What was the point of that? There was a lot of stuff Colorado did on the field too that didn't make any sense to me. Like at the end of the first half, right? They're supposed to have these whiz bang receivers that can run faster than everybody else on the planet. And nobody could cover him but Usain Bolt, and he doesn't play football. And they try to kick a 60-yard field goal instead of throwing a Hail Mary. Nothing they did made sense. They couldn't block our defensive line. We rushed 3 or 4 players most of the game. We didn't blitz a lot. And they still couldn't do anything with Ty Robinson. Yet, when you're getting blitzed like that and when you're getting hammered like that, you run screens and draws and misdirection, and they did none of those things. Let's send the receivers down the field on long stuff so we can have big highlight plays. And when they should have been hitting, like, I don't know, short outside screens, constraint plays, stuff to keep the defense honest.
That's exactly what Rule said today, actually, in his press conference. He said he was very disappointed with that. Yes.
Well, I meant Colorado. John? He was disappointed in our team not doing that, or what?
Yeah. On the perimeter, he said.
Well, I was talking about Colorado not doing it.
Oh.
But
apparently we didn't either.
Well, we didn't. I think that there were a lot of cases in which you didn't see blocks that were very good. I think our receivers didn't get off the ball as well as they could have. Let's face it. You score and Dante Daldell runs down the field and just mashes everybody in his way. And then you get a pick six that has to be the easiest touchdown in human history. And at that point, the game's over. I mean, it's over right then.
Yeah.
They knew it. We knew it. Everybody knew it. The guy behind me kept saying, when the game started, we looked at him and you saw their body language. And the guy behind me kept saying, he said it throughout the entire game. They're not ready for this. He said it over and over. They're not ready for this.
It's true.
And you could tell Colorado was like, can we go home now? I mean, they had a few of them, Jimmy Horn was like doing the bring it on stuff. But that all ended after like the first half. And oh, wow. We did beat the shit. We broke their spirit. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how that's even a football team that Colorado has after this. Wait, let me find some more comments. Greg.
Please do.
What?
I said, please do.
Oh, I thought you were going to.
Yeah.
Greg Wrench. Greg says the officiating did affect the outcome, though, because with better referees, we post another 21 points. That is true. It was pretty poopy.
As well as Mackay Bear cannot play the first half of next week's game currently.
Is that a segue into targeting?
Sure. Yes.
Good job.
I'm picking up on Greg's tricks.
Okay. All right. The other thing I wanted to talk about is targeting, because it's clear that a lot of people, again, from comments on social media, comments that I saw all over the place, or comments by people around me, the people don't understand targeting at all. And it's easy to not understand because, like the SEC doesn't seem to call targeting hardly at all because they just want to kill everybody. And then in some other conferences, they call it a lot more. Apparently, the Big 12 calls it way more. But let me see if I can find our stuff. Okay, the first key to targeting is this. Okay, there are several different positions or moments in a game in which players are put in a defined defenseless position. Okay. These are the list from the rule book. This is updated from this year. This is the list of what the definition of defenseless players are. And notice in here, it says, I keep pointing at my screen like you're going to see that. Notice it says examples of defenseless players include, but are not limited to. And if you go down, it's not showing the bottom one for some reason. But the bottom one, I wondered how to display that. The last one on this list is a player who has given themselves up and gone into a slide. So I know that. Notice also a player on the ground, a player obviously out of the play, a player who receives a blindside block. Those are all defenseless players. Kickers, a receiver attempting to catch a forward pass or in a position to receive a backward pass. Basically, you can't blow a guy up when he's in the air trying to catch a pass. Or a quarterback in the act of or just throwing a pass. I think some of the other ones are, when a guy's sliding, like the Shadir. I almost said Deion Sanders slid, but that would have hurt his toes. But when Shadir Sanders went into that slide and we got called for targeting, was that targeting? Yeah, by definition, it is. And the reason I saw a lot of people get angry that, okay, well, if they're going to call targeting on that play, why didn't they call targeting over here when there was helmet-to-helmet contact? And a lot of that has to do with whether or not the player is in a defenseless position. There's nothing in the rules that takes into account that, the defender already started tackling the quarterback when he was sliding. None of that matters. All that matters is that the quarterback gets hit in the head or neck area. And again, this is the difference between targeting on a defenseless player versus a player that's not defenseless. Okay. If you're targeting and making forcible contact to the head or neck area is what the difference is between defenseless and not defenseless. So if you make helmet to helmet to contact, I'm pointing at my head, right? The crown of your head right up here, you contact helmet to helmet with a receiver who is running with the ball, they're probably going to call targeting. But if you make contact with like your elbow like this, or your helmet, or your
Mhm.
head, your shoulder into the head, obviously, or neck area of a defenseless player, they're going to call targeting. And that's the difference between those different rules. Are they going to call it all the time? No, all of this stuff is subjective, and they have to be able to see it, and stuff is moving at 83 times a minute.
Right.
So that's why, so many of the comments I see say, well, they called targeting here, but they didn't call it there. Well, that's because they're humans. And apparently, in the case of this officiating crew, they're really crappy at their jobs anyway. So
Oh my god.
questions on targeting. Anybody got to give questions or comments on targeting? There you
Yes,
go.
Charles Hollett just now put this up. There we go. Go ahead, John.
Charles Hillett says also that wasn't a catch. Just because the ball made contact with the receiver does not mean he had control before his foot came off the turf. Was that the one near the sidelines?
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I didn't. They ruled that a catch, didn't they?
Mhm.
I I didn't get that either. I'm just like, what? Okay, well, these guys suck. Greg gives us a super chat and he says, I was there Saturday night at the Single Barrel when Minnie said the word poise. John, please reimburse me the $4.99 for this super chat.
Oh my gosh, Greg. Greg. No, the money is spent, Mr.
Is that our
Moneybags.
Greg? Is that our Greg?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
That's
I
why
thought it
there's
was.
a wrench right by his name because he's has access to do all the stuff on YouTube.
Oh, you really
Yeah.
are you're like advancing past me.
Yeah. Keep up, John. Keep
Wow.
up.
I guess. Tiger Shark Driver says that targeting call is such bullshit. Well, according to the rules, it really isn't. Again, it's subjective. John Field says rule did say they are appealing his targeting call. Well, we'll see what happens.
Oh,
Greg
this
says,
is a
has
great
everyone
question.
clicked like yet? Please do
And then
so.
sorry.
Uh,
Charles Hollett, he just asked the question, who made the reviews? Was it the Big 10 crew or Big 12 crew?
you mean like up in the stadium?
I think he's talking about the refs, right?
Yeah, but somebody would have to be doing the reviewing. Here's the thing. Give me a minute. When
Okay.
you play a non-conference game at home, right? Your opponent, the away opponent, gets to have their conference be the officials. That's why it was a Big 12 crew. I don't know the answer to your question completely, but I am guessing they're not mixing crews. In other words, the Big 12 crew probably did the review, the replay review stuff, as well as being on the field trying to screw us as hard as they could.
Mhm. Mhm.
Ah,
Um, okay, so I just wanted to make a comment on the targeting.
okay.
Rule has purposely made the guys target or tackle low for that reason, to
Yeah.
eliminate any possibilities of those types of calls. So, that's something that they definitely work on and teach during practice. Target low, target.
Okay. Here's another point. Husker Nation 1 says Albano sucks. Him and Ed Foley need to be shown the door at the end of the year. Uh, Here's the thing with this game. Stephen Bruce was on the field as a photographer of me. I sat next to his son, Logan, for the game. Logan played at the Division II level, and he was a long snapper along with some other duties. And
Really?
he went insane throughout the entire game. And he would
Why?
sit there and call whether or not the snaps were good or bad. And for the majority of the long snapping, it wasn't good. So I can't list. I know that we want to do that where we go, Alvano sucks, but I think the kid, it's hard to build confidence when you don't know the ball's going to come back. I think one of them he skipped on the ground. Who's a
Mhm.
Brian Bashini, I think, is the holder. The holder did as good a job as he possibly could,
Yep.
but the lawn snapping isn't. It's not there either. And you're as a kicker, you're not going to build confidence with that setup. I mean, you have to be the snapper, the holder, and the kicker have to be like a one motion, kind of like,
Yeah,
three bodies working together as one. And when they're not, we're gonna blame it all on the kicker, and it's gonna be like a small segment of a team problem.
it's
So
true.
I understand we have issues there. They didn't count in this game. They probably may not. Rutgers might be good. Illinois beat ranked Kansas, so that game might be tougher than we thought it was. So we might need this later on, and they need to
Well,
straighten it out.
we do have a new long snapper, brand new this year.
Right.
So that is definitely something that it needs working on for sure.
Greg, oh my God, I'm losing
Pierce.
it.
Gary Pierce.
Gary Pierce. Gary Pierce says, I think what Minnie asked was right to some extent. They were trying to kill each other, and the refs wanted to get it under control.
Mhm.
I don't think you get it under control by calling holding penalties. If you want to get that under control, you know what? If you want to get that under control, you call some personal foul penalties and eject the person. That's how you.
Well, they tried
That's
to
how
do
you.
that a couple times too, didn't they?
I don't. I don't know. I don't know. I'm so keyed up about the rules and the officials that I'm
You
forgetting.
are. You are.
Okay. Blue Larry 1674 says that hair is magnificent. Minnie, yours is okay too.
I know. John has fabulous hair.
Fabulous.
It's even better in person.
Yeah. You didn't stroke my hair once.
I just was in awe of it.
Okay. We should move on from that.
Mm.
Vince Watson, this is earlier said, well, I guess not too long ago. Colorado is individuals out for themselves. Nebraska is becoming a team. That's very true. And apparently after the game, Shiloh Sanders, he blamed his offensive line for what was happening. And I don't, as a knowing offensive linemen, talking to offensive linemen, being a fairly mediocre offensive lineman in high school, one of the ways that you get yourself killed as a quarterback or a running back is to say bad things
Yeah.
about your offensive line, especially out loud in public. So
Yep.
I don't know what he's going to expect from him the rest of the year other than like having his bones crushed. And I'm not even making that up. You don't go into a game, a post game conference and say your offensive line sucks unless you expect them to be worse. So good luck to Shiloh Sanders surviving the season.
Shittier? Is that
Well,
what you said?
he was shittier Saturday night than he was,
He was. He
he was
was.
pretty
But
shitty.
one thing that I really liked is why is it so much easier to like them when they've lost? I mean,
because
both
because they can
Dion
be
and
quiet.
they were actually humble,
Yep.
which
Yeah.
yeah, it was refreshing. I mean,
No,
after
no,
everything
no,
last year,
no, no.
right,
This is how you play
it
the
wasn't
game. This is how they do it. That's how you play the game. See that?
okay. You're right.
They're all
You're
like,
right.
oh, remember last year? Oh, it's personal. It's personal. This time's personal. They said things about my dad. Blah, blah. And then
It's
we
so
come into
true. I
this
do
year and they're
remember.
like, oh, well, good for Matt. That's how they do it. That's how
I know.
master manipulators
I know.
manipulate you into going, oh,
So
they're not
true.
so bad. No, they're a complete shit show over there in Colorado.
And it
God
does
help
work
them.
on me. It
I
works on
feel
me.
I
I
feel
gotta
sorry for
remember.
I feel sorry for the guys that we met that I interviewed last week. That's who I
Yeah.
feel sorry
Yeah.
for because Deion Sanders is probably, I don't know how he stays after this season because I
I
don't know
don't
how they're
even
going to win another game this season because I mean, you've already crapped all over your own team in public. And then
yeah.
you're nice so that we all feel sorry for them. Don't feel sorry for Colorado. They're this themselves. I feel sorry for the guys we met because they're not going to have anything to watch but shitty football
Sorry.
for like the
I
rest of
didn't
their
mean
lives. Pick one. You pick one. Take
or
them for
or they could totally just come over to our side.
it.
I mean,
They
why
could.
not?
They could.
They were nice guys. We will accept them.
Oh, Oh my God. I'm going to look at the
Is this
regular comments for a minute. Go ahead and take some comments. You take some comments.
some that I starred? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I'll
this
sit here. I'll relax for a few minutes.
Okay, John, I have a phrase for you.
A
You ready?
phrase?
Yes.
Ser-
From Charles Hollett.
Serenity now.
Now. Serenity now.
Maybe we should do a short show on that, like a breathing exercise thing.
Yes. You should.
Right,
Absolutely.
okay.
Lead us in yoga poses after you start getting worked up. That's a shit show. Okay, John.
Okay.
Serenity now.
Okay.
Oh,
Keep
another
going.
one?
Yeah.
Well, TSD says story of our lives as a Husker fan, and it is so true. We're just used to people kind of piling crap on us. Even if we
Well,
win, there you go.
that's true. Where do we go from here?
We just still, there was a good comment. I don't know if I highlight.
Yeah.
Blaine Cole. This is where we go from here. Humble in victory, gracious in defeat. Sound familiar? That is us. That's where we go from here.
Is it?
But we're not gonna have to be gracious, I don't think, very much this year.
Okay.
Humble?
Let's take a few minutes to talk about this. I think Blaine's an older guy like me. And
Mhm.
this is the kind of stuff that's the kind of stuff that, I look at it and I kind of go, okay, the last 20 years, or especially the last 6 or 7 years, I mean, we've had to endure a lot as Husker fans. Paul Feinbaum saying shit like they're never going to be a good team again, or they're never going to reach the glory again, blah, 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 blah. Paul Feinbaum kind of shit he says. There's been so many people that have said that, so many comments made. I didn't keep all the receipts because they would have filled up my house.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people that said that. And humble in victory. I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to be a complete bastard in victory. I mean, I'm not going to run over teams like Northern Iowa, but I'm certainly not going to be really humble to Colorado either. Or the whole Big Ten hates each other. That's part of the fun in sports. I think that's part of the thing in sports is that, it's not real hate. I don't really hate Coloradans. I don't wish they all broke out in sores from, biblical plagues. Maybe a few of them, but not all of them. Not all of them, damn it. But, I'm going to give them shit. And I expect them to give me shit too, because certainly they have over the years. So gracious in defeat. Well, that doesn't describe anything to do with Colorado. I think gracious in defeat is the best way to handle it because that way you forget it sooner.
It's a game. Well, we have to remember it's a game. As much as we get all carried away and our emotions get all riled up, it is a game. There's a winner and there's a loser.
Oh my God, you have 32 of these starred.
I could star more if you don't keep up with it.
No, wait.
I won't.
Okay. El Hombre Negro says Nebraska used to be a powerhouse. Well, there's a good chance we might be back in that, back there again in another year. I think we'll see how this year's plays out, and it'll be interesting to watch. Husker Nation 1 says Illinois will be a first big test. Well, they might have their shit together. I haven't watched Illinois yet this season.
I don't think so.
It's
the first
Tony Washington
conference matchup, so we'll see.
Tony Westland says, I am very happy for Nebraska. Great win. We need to win that Illinois game because it's important for the Big Ten West. Okay. There was one I missed that I wanted to take here. Okay. Star that one. I don't know. I missed it. Well, David Mantney says, I agree with you, John. It was good to see you, David, and your family. Come on. Dad, come on.
What?
Oh, I don't know what I'm doing. You can go ahead and take a comment while I'm looking.
Okay, I will. This is a change of subject, though. Sorry. Greg reminds us, where did it go? That we got a commit tonight.
Oh, we did?
Huh. Huge, gigantic linebacker Christian Jones from Nebraska. Huge. This is
We'll
like,
keep going.
okay, so we've been after this guy, and he actually has other like teammates, people he's played with that have committed. And I want to say, I mean, I don't know, is he like 23rd in the country right now for players from the 2025 class? I want to say he's up there. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and he was
What is he?
uncommitted.
What is
He's a
he?
linebacker. He's a
Oh,
linebacker,
linebacker.
Christian
Okay. All
Jones.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
So
going
this
back
is
to the
huge.
start comments.
I would think that from this weekend, because there were a lot of recruits. I mean, young kids too, young guys. And I would think that we're going to see a lot more. I saw Michael Terry.
Yeah.
Come to Nebraska. Of course, I don't know if he heard me.
I think it would have been impossible to hear anything in that stadium except the just constant drone of people
Mhm.
being loud.
Mhm.
Okay, we're at the hour mark. We're going to end soon. John, not
Okay.
me, another John says, "What's your take on the field rush? Happy about it, or think we should have saved it for a higher ranked team?" I got no problem with it. I actually was. I'll tell you what, Friday night, we were around, we were at Kincaid's for a while. Then where'd we go? We tried to go to Barry's. That place was packed. Then we went to like JJ Houlihan's or something.
Oh, I wasn't with you then.
Oh, that's
I went
right.
to
You
bed.
left me.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
went to
Okay.
bed. I was
Well, a
tired.
bunch of us went to JJ Houlihan's, I think it was called. And I talked to a lot of younger people and I encouraged them that, yes, if we want to go ahead and rush the field, why not? Because here's
That's
the
who it
thing.
was.
There's
Mhm.
there's the student section came down and just filed onto the field. They didn't attack the
Mhm.
goalpost. Uh, I think
Oh,
one
did
of
you
our
see
guys.
that? Did you see the state troopers arm in arm around the goalposts
Yeah,
so that they wouldn't get taken down?
I don't think you could take those things down with a D9 cat anymore. They're just planted in the ground so hard, and I don't think anybody cares. That was the thing for
Yeah.
me when I was young.
Yeah, they
Take the
didn't go near
goalpost
him.
down. But they didn't go near him. They just wanted to be on the field. And I guess I looked at it and I thought, okay, what are the reasons this would bother us? People would be bothered because, old guard people like me don't believe that Colorado was a rivalry, which, whatever. We can have multiple rivalries. And Oklahoma hasn't been our rivalry since the mid 90s when they jolted us for
Yeah.
Texas. People need to get over that, even old people like me. That the rivalry has been gone for decades. Okay. Iowa is our rival
Mhm.
pretty constantly. Maybe Northwestern. We can have, polyamorous stuff exists these days and it can exist in college football. So uh, I think the other reason was act like you've been there before. Well, you know what? None of these younger people have been there before. And I talked to a lot of younger people and they were like, we keep hearing all this shit from people your age about how great we used to be. Well, we haven't
Yeah.
experienced any of that. And good for them. Maybe we'll get good enough that they get a taste of what it's like to have to really have a football team they can be
That's what
proud
I
of,
hope. That is
you
what I
know?
hope. I
And I
mean, but,
realized
to be honest, you have to show respect for what has come before us,
you
because
do.
that is what Tom Osborne, Bob Devaney, they built. That's why they're legendary. That's why these things are named after them, because they branded our football to be something that we can be proud of. We haven't been able to be proud of it for several years, but we're headed there again. And so they're the ones who started it. So I think like having the 94 class there was really important
Okay.
because of that. Yeah.
I did the mistake of
Sorry.
looking at the comments again.
Yeah,
It's
don't
just
do that. I
drags
do the same thing. It happens.
drags me off into some God knows. Uh Justin Rogge says Doesn't John have a reset button you just push? You know what? They have. I have buttons you can push, and then you saw apparently Greg recorded me while I was screaming at who they. I was yelling at you, wasn't I?
Yes, you were.
Yeah, yeah. The shit show part and the So yeah, I have buttons that can be pushed. They don't really reset much though. It seems like. Well, there you go. Gary Pierce,
Yep.
Christian Jones, a 4-star number 1 prospect in Nebraska.
Yep.
Well, that's a good get, I guess.
You guess.
I guess.
That's a big one.
I'm starting to on the downward slope.
John, don't you remember when all we could get? I'm sorry. This is no disrespect for any players that aren't a 4 or 5-star, but all we could get were 2 and 3-star players.
Yeah.
This is great. This is awesome. Like, I'm celebrating. This is such a big deal.
Oh, okay. Again, here I am. Don't look, John. Fred says, don't look, John. I'm profaning your name as much as I can, for fuck's sake. Charles Hullett says, John screaming at many is like Pelini screaming at the refs. I didn't swipe anything at her, though. Did I? Right.
I don't know. Maybe.
Is there anything else you want to say about the weekend? You got your hair done.
Oh, yes, I did. I got my hair done. I have a great story for that.
On
the way home yesterday.
Do you want to save it for Thursday? Do you want to save it for Thursday with Greg?
No, I can talk about it now, but I also have another just as big of a thing that happened yesterday. On the flight home, guess who I sat next to? One of the players from the 94 class.
Aaron Graham.
No. John Peterson. I had to look him up.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know who he was. And I'm sending you an article about him, but he gave his all. And then one thing happened, just like it does for so many players. He broke his ankle, couldn't come back. And they gave him the opportunity to stay on as a grad assistant. And he got his PhD. And now his son is going to be coming to Nebraska to play against us when we play UCLA.
Oh, wow.
He's a tight end. I know. It's really cool. I love all the stories. So
what did he get his
that
PhD?
Was really neat.
What did he get his PhD in?
It's like a doctor of some sort. I don't know what kind. So I didn't really, you don't want to ask too many questions. Like, I can talk a lot to somebody, and it's like, I don't want to pry too much. Especially when they put headphones on and stop listening to.
Okay. That's what stopped it then. He was pretty like, screw this girl. The hell with this woman sitting next to me. Oh my God. Okay. I think, you know what? Are we going to be done?
We can be done, John.
Is there anything else?
You've got to be beat after this weekend and driving. And yeah, you hung out longer than I did.
I did hang out longer than you did. You need to this is college football season. You can go into a crowd of 90,000 people and energy suck them.
That's what you do.
Just like an energy vampire. Yeah. That's what I do with crowds. I just and then I just feel their energy and make it mine.
And it makes you like so hyped. You start yelling at innocent girls like me. That was a shit show, Minnie. What are you kidding? That second half. And I'm like, John, we won.
Still terrible. Aaron Keene says ending already, Golden Corral catching up or something. We usually try to go to it for an hour. And it's been an hour 14. So there you go. I think we'll be done. Is there anything else? You know what? I will say this.
Ty Robinson.
Ty Robinson. She's just watching him. Number one, I want to go look up what his position is in the NFL draft to see where he's at. It's got to be going up in this season. Number two, he hasn't got as much press, I think, nationally as I think he deserves. I made that comment on Twitter, and people are like, "No, keep him a secret." Come on, a guy like there's no secrets in this. The opposing coaches watch game film. They know that he ran over 3 trucks and a rhino on his way to sack the quarterback, and there's nothing stood in his way. You can't hide talent. So this whole idea that no, they're a good secret, keep them a secret, that's silly. I don't mean to be rude to you, but it's dumb. What else did Dante Dowdell and Ramir Johnson? I think that they have, first of all, Dante Dowdell the guy just, well, he broke a guy's arm because he decided, I'm not going to run around you. I'm going to kick your ass. And he said something about, I wanted to send a message. And he runs so hard that Travis Hunter wanted nothing to do with him on his first touchdown. I think that's a running back that we're going to look forward to watching the rest of the season. And then Ramir Johnson's, the whole flip the ball in the air, catch it, score a touchdown. That's amazing athleticism. I think that the depth chart for next week shows those two as the starters in the or. So at the beginning of this season, you had all 4 of them as or. Well, now it's or between Ramir Johnson and Dante Dowdell. And I think that those are 2 of the best. That's actually wonderful. Not anything against Emmett Johnson or Gabe Ervin. They're going to get their carries. But wow, Dante Dowdell has showed up.
Well, and then Roll did mention today that Gabe Ervin Jr., he's treated him kind of with kid gloves because he's been concerned about his injury. And he said he's not going to do that to him anymore because he wants on the field and he can handle it. And Emmett Johnson. So, yeah, these guys are going to be – go ahead. No, go ahead.
I clicked on the wrong one anyway.
Okay. Well,
here it was.
Click on the right one.
Jason Reeves says, is Andy going to quit slacking and show up tomorrow night? We'll abuse him and see if he does.
Yes.
Greg, says what he was going to ask. Way I am star says Emmett is the best. I think Emmett is damn good, but
he has this
runs
jig
with some. Yeah,
he's like a bowling ball. Anything that gets in his way, he's just going to take out. And how about the Ja'Cory Barney Jr.?
Yeah,
the kid is amazing. He's like flying through the air, hurdling people. Wow.
We have some players.
Okay. It's so awesome to get excited about it. Okay, but can I show this real quick? Burnt World says we are ranked and relevant. Go Big Red.
I think that's a good ending.
That's a great ending.
It was really nice to meet you in person, Minnie.
It was great to meet you, John, and your hair.
Okay, that's where we're going to end. Good night, everybody.
Good night.